Hi, I'm Adam Khoo, and in this video I'm going to be talking about how you can really create the results that you want in your life. Whether it's breakthrough results in your health, in your finances, or your career or business. The first thing to understand is what creates results? What precedes results? And the answer is simply action. All results are preceded by action that we take. So for example, if the result is to lose weight, what action must you take consistently? That's right, exercise. Go to the gym, right? If the result is to increase your net worth, what actions must you take? Well, you can take several actions, right? You can focus on developing a new stream of income, starting a business, managing your finances, controlling your spending, or investing your money. So here's the thing. How many of you have ever said to yourself that, I know what to do. I know how to do it, but I didn't do it. I never started, or I took action for a while, for a day or two or a week, but I did not follow through till I got the result, right? So why? What stops us from taking consistent action to get the results we want? Now when I ask people this question in my seminars, I get all kinds of answers, right? And a lot of people say to me, what stops me from taking that action to start a business could be, for example, fear. Fear, right? Or what stops me from making those phone calls as a salesperson is again a feeling of rejection or fear. Right? Or what stops me in doing or going to the gym is I feel lazy. Right? And another big one that stops us is procrastination. Or doubt, for example. Doubt stops people from going for their dreams. Right? Now on the other hand, what drives us to take action? I've got a question for you. If you had a lot more motivation in your life, would you take more action and would you have gotten a lot more results in your life? I bet the answer is yes, right? If you had more confidence, do you think that you would have achieved a lot more in your life compared to where you are today? Most people say yes. If you had a lot more determination, how many of you believe that you would have achieved a lot more if you had more determination and resilience or focus? I bet the answer is yes, right? So if you think about it, all these things stop us from taking action to get the results we want. But all these things over here drive us to take action. So these things are controlling your life. So what are these things called? If you think about it, all these things are written down. They are nothing but emotions. Think about it. Is fear an emotion? Yes, it's an emotion that you feel, right? Is confidence an emotion? It is an emotion, okay? As human beings, are we driven more by emotion or more by the logic? The answer is emotions, right? So many times we say to ourselves, logically, I know what to do. I should make those phone calls. I should start going to the gym. But we don't do it. Why? Because we don't feel like doing it. Or logically, we know that we shouldn't, smoke, or we shouldn't take an extra piece of chocolate cake because we're going to lose weight. But we still take that cake, we still take that cigarette at times because we feel like doing it. Right? So in other words, what drives our actions in life are the emotional states that we experience on a day-to-day basis. So let's find out what are the emotions you experience on a day-to-day basis in your life that's controlling your actions and results. Okay, so let's do an important exercise for you to understand the emotional states that you experience in your life every single day. I want you to think of a normal, typical day in your life. Don't think of a weekend, think of a weekday, right? And from the time you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night, what are the most common emotional states you experience in your life? So let me give you a few pointers. Every morning when you wake up, what's the first thing you feel? Right? Do you feel excited? Do you feel energized? Or do you feel lethargic or lazy or tired? Okay, think about it, write it down. Okay? When you go to work, the moment you step into your office, how do you feel? Do you feel excited? Do you feel passionate? Do you feel confident? Or do you feel anxiety? Do you feel bored? Do you feel overwhelmed? Write it down. Next, as you are doing your job, whether you're a salesperson, you're a teacher, you're an analyst, you're an engineer, as you are doing your job, what state are you normally in? Are you in a very focused state? Or do you tend to get distracted? Are you very confident in what you do? Or do you have a lot of anxiety? Do you feel stressed as you're doing your work? Or do you feel relaxed? Do you feel excited as well? Write that down. The next question is this. Are there days in your life when things don't go the way you want? When things don't meet your expectations? For example, your kids don't listen to what you say. Or for example, you lost a deal. I'm sure you've had days like that. All of us do. So when things don't go the way you want, how do you feel? Write that down. And understand that we all feel differently. Because all of us have different emotional patterns, different default settings, if you will. For example, some people, when things don't go their way, their first reaction is get angry, get upset, they lose their temper, right? Some people don't get angry, some people get depressed, they get sad. Some people get stressed. Some people feel hopeless, right? Dejected, And some people, when they don't get the results they want, they get even more driven, they get even more motivated. They say, okay, fine, let's go do it again, right? So write down what's your emotional state. And write down about 5 to 6 emotional states that you experience typically in your life. Go ahead and do it now. Okay, great. So I like to now think about the emotions you've written down. Now, as I've run seminars for the last 15 years, and I ask people the emotional states they experience, these are the common answers I get. Some people say to me, I feel lazy. That's a big one. All right? Or I feel stressed. And I feel depressed. Or I feel bored. I feel angry. I feel frustrated, right? And then sometimes people say to me, I feel passionate. I feel excited. I feel confident. Or confident, right? I feel happy. I feel inspired or motivated. Right? So think about it. Now, so all these emotions we experience every single day, they can be divided into 2 categories. The first category are what I call unresourceful emotional states. They are unresourceful. Because when we feel lazy, when we feel stressed, when we feel frustrated, what happens? It stops us from taking action. Right? It holds us back. It tends to sabotage us. But at the same time, these are what we call resourceful states. Why they're resourceful? Because when we feel excited, energized, confident, motivated, it drives us to take action. It brings out the best in us, and we tend to perform at our peak state. Right? So take a look at the list you've written down and reflect on your life right now. Do you have more unresourceful states or more resourceful states? So if you find that a state is resourceful to you, put a tick next to it. Put a tick, right? The state is unresourceful, it kind of like sabotages you, stops you from taking action, put a cross. Please take a minute, stop the video, pause it, and do this exercise. And find out, do you have more ticks or more crosses in your emotional states? Okay, so welcome back. So do you have more resourceful states or more unresourceful states? Alright, most people come to the seminars to say, I've got more unresourceful states. Some will say, I've got more resourceful states. Some people have a good combination of both states. And a question that I ask you is this. Do these emotional patterns affect your life? You bet. It affects your performance, your happiness, the results that you produce. And that's why I know people in life who have got tremendous talent and knowledge and qualifications, but they don't achieve much in life. You know why? Because they are always in lousy states. Right? Every morning when they wake up, they feel tired, they feel sleepy. They say, you know what? Why do I have to go to work today? Right? When they go to work, they drag themselves to their office. Right? They just go through the motion. They've got no passion. They've got no excitement left in their life. And they may dream of a better life. They may say, you know what? I'd like to start a business. I like to explore the world. But the moment they've got that idea, they go, what if I fail? What if it doesn't work? They've got all that fear, all that anxiety, all that self-doubt. And even though they may take some action, they may go start a business, they start trading the financial markets. But the moment they don't get the results they want, they get some setbacks, they give up, right? Why? Because they again feel that doubt, that fear. But at the same time, you and I have both seen people who have been, born in poor families, who have been financially challenged, who may have no financial or educational background or qualifications. But they're able to inspire and change the world. Why? Because these are the people who wake up every morning and they jump out of bed. They feel excited, they feel passionate, right? They go take massive action. They say, you know what? Who can I meet today? What can I start today? Now, do they get rejected? Do Do they fail? Of course. But these people, when life knocks them down, guess what? They feel excited easily. They feel more determined, they get more charged up, and they take more action to get the results they want in life. So it's really affecting your life. Now, if you take a look at your emotional patterns, and a question for you, who creates your emotions? Right? The answer is you create your emotions. In other words, when you feel fear, you're creating that state inside of you, depending on how you're talking to yourself, what you're saying to yourself, what you're picturing in your mind, your physiology. Okay? At the same time, when you feel confident, you alone are creating that state called confidence. So is this good or bad? The answer is good. Why? Because if you are creating your emotions, it means that you have the power to change it in a heartbeat, in an instant. Okay? So why don't most people control and change their emotions? Because they've never learned how to change their emotions. So in the videos to come, I'll be teaching you how do you take control again of your state and get to the state that creates resource for you to take massive action in your life. Now, whenever I tell people that you create your emotional state, some people look at me funnily and they go, what do you mean I create my own emotions? He made me angry. She made me upset. But the reality is that the environment cannot make you feel anything at all unless you choose to create that state within yourself depending on how you choose to interpret what's happening in the environment. Now, one of the most powerful formulas that I learned in the past is this formula I'd like to share with you. And the formula goes this way. It goes E plus R equals to O. Now, what does this mean? Right? So E stands for an event. Right? So what's an event? An event is anything that happens to you from the external environment. So for example, if you're born in a poor family, that's an event. Right? If you got retrenched, that's an event. The market crashes, that's an event. At the same time, you get promoted, that's an event. Right? If you're born in a rich family, that's an event. So events are things that happen to us in the external world. And some events may seem good, and some events may seem bad. Right? Now, a lot of people, they allow the events to affect their outcome. For example, they say things like, because I was born in a poor family, and that's why, I'll always be poor, because I don't have the resources, I don't have the network, I don't have the role models, right? Or some people say, because I got retrenched, or because my boss is a terrible boss, not giving me any opportunities, did not send me for training, so my career is not where I want it to be. Alright? Now I've got a question for you. Can we control the events that happen to us in our life all the time? No. For example, as a windsurfer, or as a sailor, you can't control the wind. Right? So there's no point on focusing on something that you can't control. Right? So people who succeed in life, people who change the world, who get exceptional results, is it because they've got perfect events? Is it because they've got perfect parents, perfect bosses, perfect economy, perfect background? Is it because everything goes the way they want? Of course not, that's ridiculous, right? In fact, if you read some of the most powerful biographies, you realize that the most successful, the most inspiring people in the world were born or experienced the worst events. Right? A person like Nelson Mandela, who was jailed for over 26 years. Or Nick Vujicic was born with no arms and no legs. Or Steve Jobs, who was given away for adoption at birth, who dropped out of school because his parents couldn't afford to pay the tuition for his university, who was kicked out of his own company, Apple. Right? They went through the worst events. But why is it they're able to change the world and get the results they want? Because people who succeed realize that it is not the event that affects our outcome, that affects our happiness, affects our wealth, affects our results. But what affects our outcome is the way in which we choose to respond. I use that word again. It's the way in which we choose to respond. And this is where your power lies. That's where your power lies. See, we can't always control the outside world, right? And sometimes the more we attempt to control the outside world, the more frustrated we get, right? But we can always control the inside world. The world of our thoughts, the world of our emotions, the decisions we make, and the actions we take. And by controlling the inside world, the outside world changes. So that's where your power lies. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a time in your life when you worked very hard on something? For example, you worked hard on a relationship, on your business, on your career, and despite all your efforts, things fell through. You did not get the results you wanted. Have you experienced something like that in your life? I bet you have, because all of us have, right? So when that happened, how did you feel? How did you feel? You know, and when I ask people this question, I get different answers. Some people say, you know, I felt angry, I felt demoralized, I felt upset, you know, I didn't feel anything, right? So here's the thing, do we all feel the same way when things don't go the way we want? The answer is no. We all feel differently. Why? Because it depends on how we have been conditioned, how we've been programmed to respond to those events. It's all a default programming. For example, some people, when they lose money, for example, right, or their business goes bust, how do they respond? You know, some people respond by saying, you know, why does this always happen to me? You know, why do I always screw things up? How can I be so stupid? How can I be so unlucky? You know, why, God, why did you do this to me, right? You know, what's the point? If I try again, I'm going to fail again. And I'm never going to try this again. Forget it, right? And if you respond that way, how would you feel? You feel demoralized. You feel lousy. You feel tremendous fear. Isn't that true? And who created that state? You did, from the way you responded. And when you feel fear and dejection, will you take more action? Would you learn from it? Probably not, right? You go walk away or do something else. And what's the result? What's the outcome? You will not get the results you want. But some people, they go through that same rejection, that same failure. They lost money, their business went bust, but they respond very differently. They respond by going, you know what can I learn from this? You know, how can this be a blessing in disguise? You know, how can this event make me a stronger and a wiser person? You know, how can I take what I've learned and go out there and achieve even more than what I learned? How can this be the greatest learning experience and breakthrough that I have? And by doing that, what happens? They get more excited, they get more confident, they get more motivated, and they take more massive action, better action, and they get better results. And they believe that the harder you bounce the ball down, the faster the ball bounces back up. Alright, so it's how you choose to respond to what happens in life. So let me share with you a story about how powerful this formula can be. You know, in the earlier days of my business career, I was going through challenges like most people, right? I didn't hit my sales targets, you know, costs were going up, and I was losing money. And I was frustrated. I said, you know, why is this happening to me, right? And I thought, how can I ever get out of this mess? And then I read a story in the Singapore Straits Times newspaper that really inspired me. And the story was about a man, and his name is Mr. Lin Tao Yong, right? And he's the founder of a company called Emporium, the Oriental Emporium in Singapore, which was at one time the largest shopping retailer in Singapore and Malaysia. Right? He started his business in his 30s, and he built it to a $300 million a year turnover business. So he was a very successful businessman. He was a very wealthy entrepreneur, highly respected. But what happened? In the late 1980s and the 1990s, he was hit with all the worst events, like most entrepreneurs at one point of time in their lives. Lin Tao Yong, he expanded his business a bit too fast. Right? He over-leveraged, he borrowed a lot from the banks. And that was when Singapore was hit by a severe recession back in '87. You know, and there were a lot of foreign competitors coming to the market, competitors from Japan, from the US, right? Like Johan or Isetan, Marks and Spencer, you know. And his business didn't innovate fast enough. So he was kind of like losing customers, and people stopped coming. And he was losing money. Eventually, his whole business folded, collapsed. And because he personally guaranteed the loans of the business, he was made a bankrupt. And Mr. Lin Tao Yong was made a bankrupt at the age of 72 years old. And guess how much he owed the bank? He owed the bank in excess of $80 million. So let me ask you a question. Imagine if you were 72 years old today, right? And you went bankrupt, and you owed the bank $80 million, okay? How would you respond, right? So most people will think, oh my God, you know, it's over. You know, why did this happen to me, right? And I'll never make it back, I'm too old. But Mr. Lin Tao Yong, although he was not highly educated, but he had what we call personal mastery. He had the ability to master his thoughts and his emotions and master himself. And when journalists asked him, how do you feel that you lost everything? He said, I didn't lose everything. I'm still a millionaire. And they said, what do you mean? Right? What do you mean you're a millionaire? You lost all your money, right? He said, you know what? I'm a millionaire up here. Alright? And he said, true wealth is not the value of my business or cash in the bank. My true wealth is the value of my knowledge, my skills, my experiences, and the connections I made over all these years with my friends. And he said, they can take my house, they can take my money, they can't take what's up here. And he said, as long as I'm a millionaire up here, I'm going to make it back here. And he said, at 72 years old, I'm still young, right, for my health. You know what? I'm going to start all over again. Right? So think about it. Did he start from nothing? No. He started from minus 80 million. Right? So when people come to my seminars and they say, Adam, I'm in my 50s, I'm in my 60s, I've got no money, I'm broke. I say, you know what? You're broke. You've got $80 million more than him. Because he was minus 80 million, right? So Mr. Lin Tao Yong, he left Singapore. He went to Malaysia, he went to Brunei and started all over again. Now he had no money, but he had another mastery, which I call people mastery. He had the ability to influence people, to inspire people to lend him the money, to invest in his business once again. Now 10 years later, at the age of 82 years old, guess what? He made everything back. And he became a millionaire once again. So when I read that story and I looked at my own business where I was losing a few $100,000, I said, what? You know what? My problems suddenly seem insignificant. It disappeared compared to this guy. You know, if you think you've got problems, look at Nick Vujicic with no arms and no legs. So no matter where you are in life, you are so much better off than someone else out there. But it's how you choose to respond that allows you to unlock your power to really achieve your fullest potential. And that's the message of this video. So take charge of your emotional states and turn your life around. This is Adam Khoo, and I'll see you in the next video.